Donald Trump, the current US president, has been accused of being an isolationist who opposes war and intervention. However, this narrative is misleading because of his hawkish foreign policy during his first term, which included killing top Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, occupying Iraq, expanding the war on Yemen, bombing Yemen, expanding the war in Afghanistan, and boasting of selling offensive weapon systems to Ukraine. Trump also supported a coup attempt in Venezuela and waged economic war against Venezuela. Now, as he returns to the White House in January 2025, Trump is pledging to implement interventionist hawkish policies in his second term. He plans to threaten multiple countries, including colonizing Panama, taking over the Panama Canal, and taking over Greenland, an autonomous territory with a large indigenous population. Trump and his nominees are discussing plans to invade Mexico, the US southern neighbor, and potentially annexing Canada. Trump supporters claim this is a joke, but it is not serious. Trump's extreme imperialism is blatant. He threatens the northern and southern neighbors of the US, China, and Iran, and uses China as a boogeyman to justify colonizing the Panama Canal. Some of the biggest pro-Trump right-wing accounts on social media, promoted by Elon Musk, are invoking Manifest Destiny, which is blatant colonialism. They want the US empire to colonize sovereign countries and portray this as if they are opposed to imperialism and colonialism. Ezra Cohen, former Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence, quoted Trump's comments threatening to take over the Panama Canal, stating that Latin America is the backyard of the US empire. This is blatant neo-colonialist, and while Trump and some of his allies claim to be right-wing populists against neoconservatives, they are showing that they are just as imperialist as neocons. The Panama Canal is one of the most important trade choke points on Earth, with about 5% of global maritime trade passing through it. Donald Trump wants the US to colonize the canal and take it over, given the historical precedent that it had been US colonial territory until 1999. On December 21st, Trump posted a poem on his Twitter account, claiming that the US would take over the Panama Canal. In conclusion, Donald Trump's approach to foreign policy is not isolationist, but rather interventionist hawkish policies. He threatens multiple countries, including Panama, Mexico, and Greenland, violating their sovereignty and using China as a boogeyman. While some may view these threats as jokes, they are seen as serious threats to the global community. In the past, the US has been threatening to colonize countries in the global south, particularly Latin America. This has been fueled by fearmongers about China and the US, who have used the colonial Monroe Doctrine to justify their actions. The Panamanian government condemned this threat, while Panama's president, José Raúl Mulino, stated that every square meter of the Panama Canal and its adjacent areas belongs to Panama and will continue to belong to Panama. In response to Trump's threats, Panama's president, José Raúl Mulino, emphasized that the canal has no direct or indirect control from China, the European Union, or the United States. Elon Musk, the richest oligarch on Earth, has also been accused of being a blatant colonialist, as evidenced by his tweet in 2020. In response to criticism for supporting the Farc coup in Bolivia under the Trump administration in 2019, Musk responded by stating that he would "quote wherever we want and overthrow any foreign government." China's response to Trump's threats to colonize Latin America is the opposite of Western propaganda. China's foreign ministry spokesperson emphasized that the Panama Canal is a great creation of the people of Panama and has always supported the people of Panama in their struggle for sovereignty over the canal. They pointed out that since the 1960s, China has always respected Panama's sovereignty over the canal. Under Donald Trump's first term, he nominated warming neocons to oversee his foreign policy, including Mike Pompeo and John Bolton, who were architects of the Iraq War. These officials invoked the 200-year-old colonial Monroe Doctrine to claim that Latin America is the US empire's backyard and that they can overthrow any government they want. They have attempted to overthrow governments such as Venezuela, Nicaragua, Sisters, Revolutionary Cuba, and Bolivia, using the excuses of China and Russia to justify their actions. To justify colonizing the Panama Canal, it is important to consider the historical context of Latin America. The US has carried out numerous invasions of countries across the region over the past 2 centuries, with the US military intervening in almost every single country in Latin America. In some cases, the US has invaded multiple times, such as Nicaragua, where the CIA has backed coups and regime change operations, overthrowing numerous democratically elected governments. In conclusion, the US has been threatening to colonize countries in the global south, and its response to these threats is the exact opposite of Western propaganda. Panama, a symbol of US imperialism in Latin America, was built by robber barons like Cornelius Vanderbilt in the late 19th century. The US attempted to force Colombia to give the US control of the territory for a canal, but the Senate of Colombia opposed this as a form of US colonialism. In response, the US backed a separatist movement to create Panama in 1903, breaking off Panama from Colombia. The US took control over the territory that became the Panama Canal Zone by signing the Buenos Treaty, which was blatant colonialism. This is the historical precedent that Donald Trump is citing to argue that the US should go back to taking over the Panama Canal. With this treaty signed with the presence of no Panamanians, the US was given control over the Panama Canal Zone and built the canal over the next decade. Panama had a series of US puppet regimes until 1968, when revolutionary military officer Omar Torres came to power. He was influenced by the Cuban Revolution, allied with Cuba, supported the Sisters in Nicaragua, and supported Saviend, the democratically elected socialist president of Chile. Torres initiated a revolution, did land reform, expanded healthcare, education, and built infrastructure. He was a progressive populist leader who opposed US colonialism in Panama. In 1977, after more than 70 years of US colonialism in Panama, the US President Jimmy Carter was pressured to sign the Torres-Carter treaties, which stated that Panama would get full control over the Panama Canal by 1999. However, just 4 years after signing this agreement, Panama's revolutionary left-wing leader Torres died in a suspicious plane crash. In 2009, a retired Panamanian colonel and former Panamanian ambassador published a book revealing that the CIA had backed an operation to assassinate Torres, in collaboration with future military leader Manuel Nora. Nora, the DR military leader of Panama in the 1980s, was unreliable and turned against the US. This situation is similar to what happened with Saddam Hussein in Iraq, who initially was a US ally against the Iraqi left linked to the Soviet Union but eventually turned against the US and became more independent. The US has historically treated Panama like a colony, with the US invading Iraq in 2003 and overthrowing Saddam Hussein. In 1989, the US invaded Panama, killing hundreds of people and bombing working-class neighborhoods. The US arrested its former ally, Nora, and took him out of the country, violating Panama's sovereignty. The point is that the US has treated Panama like a colony for most of its history. Donald Trump has publicly threatened to colonize Panama and take it over with no respect for its sovereignty. He also threatened Greenland, an autonomous territory of Denmark, which has many indigenous communities who want independence and sovereignty. Trump stated that the ownership and control of Greenland is an absolute necessity for national security and freedom worldwide. Right-wing pro-Trump accounts on social media, such as Wall Street Mav, have millions of followers, promoting the US colonization of Greenland and Canada. These accounts claim that the US colonizes these countries to access valuable rare earth minerals, which the US government wants to access, especially since China plays a crucial role in the global supply chain for rare earth minerals. Trump has also tried to do the same thing with Afghanistan, occupying the country without withdrawing troops and seeking access to trillions of dollars of minerals. This is not an isolationist, but a blatant colonialist. When Trump made comments about turning Canada into the 51st state, his supporters argued that it was a joke. However, Canada is an independent sovereign country and the US president-elect is threatening to annex it. Twitter accounts like Wokeness, run by Elon Musk, have been promoting these accounts and sending out tweets that get thousands of shares and tens of thousands of likes, claiming that Trump is right to take over the Panama Canal. In response to this, someone responded that they would invade a sovereign country and occupy and control territory to extract income, destabilize the country, and inevitably the region in violation of international law with the support of 0 countries in the world. These accounts view themselves as imperialists and colonialists, opposing sovereignty and seeking a U.S. global dictatorship where the U.S. can colonize any foreign country and take over their natural resources. They see this as being based on colonialism and defining woke as those who oppose it. The Wall Street Mav account, promoted by Elon Musk, has 1.5 million followers and posts blatant fascist colonialism. It claims that the U.S. empire should colonize all of North America, while another account, Mogmus, has 3.3 million followers and posts maps in which the U.S. empire colonizes Mexico, Canada, Nicaragua, Cuba, and the Dominican Republic. This is blatant fascist colonialism. Donald Trump and his nominees for his administration are making plans for an invasion of Mexico, which is not just an internet joke but a serious threat to Mexico's sovereignty. They are proposing drone strikes or airstrikes in Mexico, sending in U.S. military trainers and advisors, deploying U.S. kill teams on Mexican soil, waging cyber warfare, and having U.S. special forces conduct raids and abductions inside Mexico. The sovereign elected government of Mexico, President Claudia Sheinbaum, opposes this plan, stating that it would be an invasion. Trump's nominee for National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, introduced legislation into the U.S. Congress that would give the U.S. military the authorization to invade Mexico. He also plans to launch airstrikes on Iran in the name of stopping its nuclear program, another blatant war of aggression. Trump has made it clear that he strongly supports Israel's war on Gaza, war in Lebanon, and occupation of Syrian territory. In return, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu opened a new illegal Israeli settlement in occupied Syrian territory called Trump Heights. Trump is constantly threatening China, filling his cabinet with extreme China hawks, including Marco Rubio, who will lead Trump's State Department overseeing U.S. foreign policy. Elbridge Colby, the grandson of former CIA Director William Colby, will be running Trump's Pentagon and has proudly referred to himself as a hawk. Trump claims to create a Department of Government Efficiency called DOGE run by billionaires Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, aiming to bring down the deficit. However, Republicans in the House of Representatives, who were allied with Trump, introduced the DOGE Act, which aimed to cut spending on social spending, the economy, education, transportation, healthcare, energy, and climate. Additionally, they reduced the Pentagon budget by $Z billion. In summary, the Trump administration's actions and nominees, including Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, are seen as war hawks who are constantly threatening and preparing for potential wars. The U.S. Senate has approved a military budget of $895 billion, nearly $1 trillion. This budget is not limited to military spending, such as veteran and Department of Energy spending. Some economists estimate that the military budget is $1.5 trillion and increasing annually. However, Donald Trump and his Republican allies, including Elon Musk, V. Ramaswamy, and DOGE, plan to increase spending on the military while cutting social spending. Trump's cabinet is full of billionaires who benefit from huge Pentagon contracts, including Elon Musk. There are 11 billionaires who will be top officials in Trump's administration, including Trump himself. Other oligarchs with hundreds of millions of dollars are running his government, especially in the Pentagon. Trump's claims to stop war are absurd, as he never stopped war in his first administration. His supporters claim that he is an isolationist and will make America great again, but this is just propaganda. Trump's plan is to make the U.S. empire great again, expanding it around the world. World reports will constantly report on these crimes committed by the U.S. empire under Joe Biden and Trump. Both parties are complicit in these crimes, but Donald Trump should not be considered a populist alternative. They have shown in their reporting why and will continue to show this in the future. Khan, the editor-in-chief of World Report, thanks everyone for joining us.